Hello and welcome to Iron Dinos. I'm Shaun and do you know what? I love Sonic the Hedgehog. When I was a kid, you could call me a Nintendo kid I guess, because I had a SNES and then I had an N64, but before that I had an Acorn Electron, I had a Commodore 64, I wanted an Atari. I didn't have that brand loyalty to just like one thing. And my sister had a Mega Drive. My friend had a Master System and a Mega Drive, so I had the best of all worlds really. You know, I could play your Mario games and I could play whatever I wanted on the Commodore 64, the Dizzy games I used to love. But I could also get my hands on the Sonic games. And yeah, they're absolutely fantastic. I hear you, I can already hear you. I can already hear it coming. Sonic is terrible. There are way more awful games than good ones. I know, but I don't care because I've not played them. I have always been something of a, unless it's Batman related, something of a picky gamer. If I don't like the look of something, if I don't hear great things about it, I don't want to spend 40-50 quid on it. So yeah, there is Sonic 06, which we've all watched Let's Plays of or video essays on and had a laugh about. I've never played it. I didn't put down the money. I don't care that it's terrible. Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces came out off the back of Sonic Mania. Do you know what? Sonic Mania was fucking awesome. Sonic Forces, that had giant red flags written all over it from the minute it was released. Never played it. Never paid any money for it. I don't care. So yeah, a lot of my love for Sonic is rooted in nostalgia in the same way that my love for Mario is rooted in nostalgia. Mario certainly has the better series of games if you look at it as a whole. But you know what? For the games of Sonic I love, I absolutely freaking love them. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a little talk about the Sonic games I've played and just generally have a lovely fun chat about Sonic. What I love about Sonic and his games, what I love about his side characters, what I love about his world, what I love about that glorious giant mustachioed egg-based menace. All this lovely stuff in celebration of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and I cannot tell you how excited I am for this kids movie. Like, we'll get to it, but the first one was so much better than it had any right to be, and it's got a whole other nostalgia of like, I wasn't a big fan of Jim Carrey in the 90s, but like everyone liked one of his movies, you know what I mean? For me it was The Mask in the original Ace Ventura. Boy howdy, does that not hold up well. That is pretty fucking horrible, but yeah. So, Sonic is back, Sonic has a movie out, let's talk about all the Sonic games that I love. So we're going to start with Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Mega Drive. The game that started it all. The game that these days gets an awful lot of pushback as janky and awkward and poorly designed, which I strongly disagree with. Like, Sonic the Hedgehog has the core elements of everything that makes a great Sonic game. It's got the feel, it's got the speed, it's got the enemy types nailed down pretty darn well for a first attempt. It's got variety, both in locations, in enemy types, in ways you traverse the levels. Because obviously the big thing about Sonic is speed, but anyone who's played the majority of Sonic games back then knew that came with time. Sonic isn't based like an endless runner. It's always been an equal share of patient platforming and running at full pelt. There's always been a balance there, because just holding right the whole time and pressing jump occasionally isn't the most fun or the most diverse kind of gameplay. And right from the first game it understood that. 'Cause that's all, as much as I freaking love it, that's all the first Mario has, with a very tiny amount of bleak puzzling. But otherwise, what you've got in the first game is lovely Sonic sprite, really nice environment that kind of set the tone. The first games, it's kind of a trope that's gone through Sonic games ever since, to a degree, but it's kind of a thing of it starts green and it slowly gets more mechanical as you get to the end, with its kind of mild and vague pro-nature, anti-industrialist message that Sonic kind of has. You play as a blue hedgehog against a rich a dude who's obviously got more money than he's got sense, because he's mental and builds all these robots and stuff. But he's trying to turn nature into his own mechanical playground. You know, this is all really great stuff, and it's all there right in the first game. And yeah, Sonic 2 is better. We'll come to that in a minute. Sonic 2 is better in every conceivable way, but that's why I'm playing Sonic 2. But I still think the first Sonic game is freaking awesome, and I'll still play that every several years just for the fun of it, and I can still beat it. It also brought a lot of things that stuck for the rest of the series, including the awesome drowning music. But I think it set the scene for all of the music that followed in these classic style games. Yeah, so Sonic the Hedgehog 1 is a really fantastic game. I also think it's got very, very good difficulty gradient if you're used to it. Like, the first game is hard. It's definitely it's probably the hardest of the original trilogy, or quintilogy, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, the difficulty spikes in places, don't get me wrong, but I think it's quite well laid out. Not as well as this one, but yeah, I think it's got a solid difficulty, a solid level of challenge. It, of course, instigated the whole yeah, I'm not going to give you any rings for the final boss thing, which I like. I think that's really trying to push the limits of your gaming. And of course, it was the era that was still somewhat had the coin ops in mind. So you needed to get value for money. So you needed to have a replayable game. And the way a lot of games did that was to get really fucking hard at the end. So you lose all your continues and you play through the whole thing again, because you'd get a game every 6 months or so. But yeah, the first Sonic the Hedgehog is still a great game. I still absolutely love it. It's not the first one I'm going to pick in the series to play, but honestly, it's certainly not the last. It's certainly not the last. But Sonic the Hedgehog also came out for the Megadrive Master System, where it is a very, very different game. A friend of mine had it. As I recall, we could never complete... we could never get past the, at least, jungle level. Basically, the Eggman boss on there, you've got no rings, basically drops a ball into like this little curved vine. And you need to jump up and hit him. And for the life of us, with all of our skill and all of our want and all of our passion for trying to complete this darn game, we just kept bouncing off him into the ball. But yeah, that's, again, the physics are different in that to what they are on the Mega Drive original, but it's still an absolutely great game. It's still a ton of fun. I have as much to say about that, but I think they did. I think they did a very good job with the sprites, with the limited power and everything they had, and also it sounds really cool. It is a cool sounding game. I like, you know, I'm from the C64 era and stuff like that, so I quite like the more bloopy, older school kind of bit tune kind of noise. So I'm absolutely cool with that. I've got no problem with that. But yes, it's darn sight higher than the Mega Drive version. But now we move on to Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and you know what? It is my favourite platforming game of all time. Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, despite me having all of the Mario games when I was a kid, or the SNES Mario games, so I had the re-release of the NES ones on the All-Star Collection. But yeah, my sister had the Mega Drive, and this was and continues to this day to be my favourite 2D platformer. I think the balance of this is absolutely perfect. I love the score. I love the sprites. I love the difficulty incline. I love having Tails running around. Like I'm sure I've said this in another video, but like having Tails run around with you through the whole game is something absolutely incredibly unique. It blew my absolute mind as a kid. Not to mention, you're sitting there, your friend's playing it, and you nudge the controller and suddenly Tails jumps and you're like, wait, we can play through this together? Like, it's gonna focus on Sonic, but literally two people can play this sat side by side on a couch and help each other out, which is frigging awesome. It's absolutely mind-blowing at the time, and I still think it's such a cool thing, because like, not a lot of other games have ever really done this. It's kind of just a Sonic thing, and it's so incredibly cool. It gets an upgrade with the next game. Yeah, I absolutely frigging love that, and I also love Tails. I think I don't as much like what he's developed into over time. Like, he started off as Sonic's younger friend and everything, and now he's kind of almost fallen into the role of the a kind of useless sidekick, rather than the guy who could keep up with Sonic in every way, shape or form. You'll see at the very end of this game, you know, Sonic destroys the final boss and the Death Egg satellite, and Tails runs up and saves him. You know, flies him down. I didn't get all the Chaos Emeralds in this run because it's a very frustrating affair, and I couldn't be bothered, to be perfectly honest with you. In fact, I don't think I even bothered showing off a special stage until way later in the video, and that was just because I kind of forgot to even go into one. But yeah, I should have mentioned with the first game. So a precedent was set that there are special stages. In the first one, you need to get to the end of a level with 50 rings. Then it opens a special portal, and you go into an absolutely nauseating spinning world of colour, where you need to basically maneuver yourself around a puzzle area to get to the very end, and then find your way to the Chaos Emerald. You nab that. If you don't beat it, Dr. Eggman is juggling the ones that you didn't get at the very end of the game, while mocking you. In this one, it did a little something different, it did a little something new, it did a little something very much stolen from Dragon Ball. If you get the 7 Chaos Emeralds in the half-pipe special stages, you will turn into Super Sonic, of course, and Super Sonic makes Sonic nigh incontrollable, but also nigh invulnerable. So you can run around pretty much anywhere, as long as you don't get crushed or fall into a bottomless pit. You will launch off at a preposterous speed, blasting your way through absolutely everything. It is a ton of fun. And when I'm playing it on my own, I will kind of blag do it, because you can get most of them in about the first 3. I think you can get all 7 in like the first 3 or 4 levels, because all you need to do, you find a checkpoint, you then go find another 50 rings, and then you can go find another checkpoint. But that's very, very hard, and I've not played this game in several years, so there was no way I was going to be able to do that, show it off here without having to redo them a lot, and I thought that was not going to be particularly fun to watch. This might not be particularly fun to watch anyway. I don't pretend I don't play this every 6 months to a year. I'm a bit rusty, but I can always beat this game within one continue. Sometimes I'll have a little trouble with the end boss. I am far more impatient than I was as a kid, so I kind of just want to get Eggman defeated, and that can lead to deaths. But I love everything about this game. I absolutely love everything about this game. It looks great, it sounds great, it feels great. The first one had a decent balance of skill, or whatever you want to call it, a difficulty gradient, but I think this one is actually better. I think the music is better, I think the bosses are better. But yeah, this is Sonic 2, and it is my favourite 2D platformer of all time. I absolutely love it. And then there was also Sonic 2 on the... I think the Game Gear and the Master System versions are the same, but I have to say I'm more familiar with the Game Gear version of Sonic 2 rather than the Master System. So I'm guessing they're pretty much the same, but I might be wrong on that. Because it's not what I played. I played it on the Game Gear. My friend had a Game Gear. Talk about fucking hard. That is a very hard game. Like, I often hear people talk about the hang glider section. I know we could get that far. I don't know if we ever got any further. I know we didn't get the special ending on that. I know we could never get that far because I never remember seeing that. Is it Silver Sonic in that one? Or is it Mecha Sonic? I can never remember. I should have mentioned Sonic 2, the first Sonic clone, the first of very, very many that do not get better as they go on. Well, they kind of got better and then they got worse. You get that ridiculously hard final boss with that. I've seen in Let's Plays. I've not gone back and, like, I can emulate all these things. This is played on my, the game you're watching is being played on my Genesis Mini. Brilliant little system that is. That's why you hear the occasional, like between levels I saved just in case something went terribly awry. I didn't have a great amount of problems playing it, but you might notice the occasional little bit where I saved just to make sure I didn't just crap the bed and lose all my lives out of nowhere. But yeah, sorry, we were talking about the Master System one. I don't have much else to say on that, to be honest. I played it as a kid and I don't really I didn't dislike it, but I don't remember it massively fondly. Unlike Sonic CD, which I always picture it as the forgotten original Sonic game. I did not play this until the Xbox 360. It was released on the Xbox Live Arcade, and that was the first time I ever got to play the game. It looks great. I love the mechanics. So it's got this really cool idea where you can go to the future, you can go to the past, and if you go to the past and you destroy Robotnik's roboticizers, it changes the present and the future and actually makes everything better. It stops what Robotnik's doing. It's got these really cool special stages which give you the time stones, which again you need to collect all of them. You don't get a special extra final boss or anything, but it does give you the proper ending. And yeah, it's really fun. It really feels like something made between Sonic 1 and 2. Like, a lot of the problems of Sonic 1 are there, but also quite a few of the improvements of Sonic 2 are there. And it looks absolutely lovely. It's got like a bit of a 2.5D feel at points. That's not utilised a tremendous amount. One of the biggest examples of improvements is the fidelity of the music. Now, I like this whole chiptune sound thing anyway, so it doesn't bother me, but yeah, it sounded great on there, but I find it very forgettable. Bosses are mostly crap. The levels are fun, but I don't find them all that memorable. Like, there's an awful lot of games in all of the original series, and maybe part of this is just my unfamiliarity with it, because I didn't play it a million times when I was a kid. But I can name a lot of levels in the first 4 or 5 Sonic games, whatever. But with CD, with the exception of the one that's the one that I really dislike, that's kind of all tubes and tunnels, and you're constantly being shot through them. There's not a lot of levels in that game I particularly like or particularly remember. But I'm really glad I played it. It's not a Knuckles Chaotix. It's not so weak that it deserves to be forgotten. I think it has its place in the original games. Don't get me wrong, it deserves its love, but it's not one of my favorites. It's one of the ones I'm probably not going to put on that often, because what it has that I enjoy I can get elsewhere. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And that brings us on to Sonic 3. Sonic 3 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. There's so much to say about these games. The Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles combo is by and large seen as Sonic's greatest ever achievement. And I'm not going to say I disagree with that. Obviously I disagree with that, because I think Sonic 2 is by far the best Sonic game ever made. But my problem with Sonic 3 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles is some of the levels are shit. And I'm really sorry, but some of the levels in these, like, it's a huge undertaking. It really is it really is an incredible piece when put together. It's wonderful, but it's got Sandopolis, which is the worst level in any 2D Sonic game, in my opinion. It's long, it's boring, it's dull, it's slow. And the second act is kind of fun because it has the ghost thing, but I actually find that more annoying than I find challenging. Yeah, it's just like, it's not that levels are bad at all. It's that some of them I don't find as engaging. Ice Cap Zone, awesome music. I find it drags. In fact, I find that for quite a few. Carnival Night Zone, the barrel boss. Yes, I was one of those people who had problems with it. In fact, when I got it on the Xbox 360, probably a decade or so after I'd previously played it, I had problem with that again. It's an arse. But that goes on a little too much. I fear it's probably a complaint with a lot of it, I guess. Like the second half of Sonic 3 and Knuckles is some of the best the entire series had to offer. If you had maybe Angel Hill, Hydrocity, Marble Garden, and then jumped over to Lava Reef and stuff, maybe that'd be my favourite Sonic game. But the stuff in the middle, I do really like Launch Base as well, as frustrating as it can be. I find Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles very easy, and I feel that when they implement difficulty, it's kind of artificial. So I think the level design is probably better, more fluid, more well constructed, I think you could probably argue, but I think that takes away some of the challenge that I enjoy so much in 2, because 2 kind of keeps you on your toes, and I don't feel that in 3 or Knuckles. I feel in 3 and Knuckles, if you're gonna die, you've already fallen into the trap and there you go. Whereas with 2, as well as I know this game, it can still wipe me out if I'm not paying attention. If I start kind of really relaxing into it and stuff, I can pull a wrong turn. Also, I think it's a fairer way of getting to the special zones by hiding them, but I find it kind of annoying having to go out of my way to search them. So, Sonic 2 was a massive step up in storyline, in the way the story was delivered. The first one is very, very simple, but again, effective. Green, go to industrial, stop the guy who's trying to turn everything green industrial. That's really, really cool. 2 was somewhat, like, mind-blowing to a little kid like me, to a little kid as I was back then, because the story kind of is the same, as you know, but then you go into these more industrial areas, like this is an oil refinery, how cool is that? But then it takes a sharp turn when you're suddenly on Tails' plane and you're trying to catch up to the flying battery, and then you go from there into space, and then you're on the space station. That's awesome. But Sonic 3 and Knuckles absolutely blows that out of the water. Repetition aside of at the end of Sonic 3, he's trying to get the Death Egg into space. You stop him, so he immediately tries to put the Death Egg back into space. Like, that aside, and then the plan was originally that, very famously, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles was supposed to be one epic game. They ran out of time, so they split it over 2, hence the repetition. But back then, I wasn't ready for a game to tell a story, and it is entirely done visually. No cutscenes, no nothing like that. Entirely done visually through as you progress through the game. Like, I wasn't ready for the whole Knuckles quote-unquote origin to be showed. He starts with Dr. Eggman, Robotnik, and you're kind of like, oh, this guy's kind of a jerk, but he's kind of cheeky with it. And he used to, in the original version, and Knuckles, they changed some of the music, including his theme. But in the original version, he's got kind of this badass theme, and just like, oh, I want to fight that guy. And you learn at the end of 3 that Robotnik is using him as a pawn. But then when you get to the end of the next game, you find the hidden palace zone, and you're like, kind of in the background, it's got like these, whatever you want to call them, murals telling you where like a prophecy, and you're like, oh wow, that's really cool. So Knuckles has learned this the whole time, and now he's been betrayed, and like you've got these Master Emeralds and all that. And then you go to the Sky Sanctuary game, and I'd not really played anything that looked or sounded quite like that before. That also, Sonic 3 had these really cool, like 3D looking effects. So one of them is you're spiraling around this big tower as you run up it. Really, really cool stuff. And yeah, so the whole story as is told visually through the end of Sonic and Knuckles is really, really special. Like, I still, when I play it to this day, I still get these huge pans of nostalgia of how absolutely cool that is, and what a great job they did delivering that. It's really fantastic. And of course, you know, I've touched on him. Knuckles is an awesome character. He is, in my opinion, the last great character added to the franchise. Like Sonic and Tails, Knuckles is a very, very simple character. But because of... he's a very, very simple character, but he also has the ability to have additional depth. And, you know, he often just gets... he's often just the dumb strong guy. But the original version of Knuckles was kind of a bit more... I'm not going to say massively more complex than that, but his purpose and his goal was clearer and more concise. Much like, again, the thing with, I'm not a big fan of what Tails became, because he became a Flandersation, or whatever you want to call it. He becomes one very simple thing instead of a few things. So Sonic is an adventurer, Sonic is a, if you want to call him a freedom fighter or whatever, but basically Sonic's a fast hedgehog with a bit of a snarky attitude that fights a guy with a big mustache. Tails was his friend, they picked up together, he looks up to Sonic, he can in all ways show himself as Sonic's equal, and he can do what he needs to do. He can also be a useful part of the team. And then there's Knuckles, and Knuckles is the same again. Knuckles' origin was that he was tricked by Eggman, so he was fighting Sonic, because Sonic always collects the Chaos Emeralds. He literally meets Sonic having already got the Chaos Emeralds, which leads into the lie that Eggman has told him. So he goes off, he fights Sonic for a bit, gets betrayed. You then find a bit more about his race. He's presumably the last of them, and then he joins Sonic's side and he goes off and is a badass and is really cool and is awesome and all stuff like that. He was so much cooler than before he just became the dumb strong guy, because yeah, he's an awesome character. I love his design as well. But this is gonna bring into a problem I have with the franchise. I'll come into it a bit later, but you've got Hedgehog, you've got Fox, you've got Echidna, all different animals, all very distinct. Yeah, but they're all great characters, all very distinct. But yeah, sorry, I got distracted. This is just a general try. I've not written anything down. I was talking about what makes Sonic 3's Knuckles so special. I was getting to the end. Sorry. The Death Egg Zone. Dear God, the Death Egg Zone is awesome. It's got you, it's warping gravity and all stuff like that. It's really cool. And then, like, the end of Sonic 2's Death Egg Robot is one of my favourite Sonic enemies of all time. And you get to the end of Sonic 3 and there's a giant one. It's kind of peering at you and you're having to attack its fingers. And then it has a second attack where it comes at you from behind and it's shooting all lasers at you and all cool shit like that. And then if you've got all the Hyper Emeralds, which you should have by this point, you then fly around in space and fight it, and it's the coolest thing ever. It's so cool, so awesome. Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles are also masterpieces. I just like them a little less than 2 due to the easy difficulty, and yeah, I find a lot of the stages a bit overly long and a little, I don't think unfocused is the word, because that's unfair, and I don't really think they're maze-like. I don't think they're particularly tough or challenging to traverse, but there's something they lack that I enjoyed more in 2, and maybe even a little more in 1. They were punchier. But one of the big things 3 and Knuckles does definitely bring is the bosses. There are so many bosses, and the majority of them are freaking-tastic. Absolutely tons of fun to fight. I think just about every stage has a boss, if I recall correctly, or most of them do. But yeah, it's crazy fun. Yeah, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, they're still, no matter what my starting point may be, they're still incredible games. I mean, you know it, I know it, everyone knows it. It's just I don't enjoy it as much as 2, but masterpieces. I think all 4, and Knuckles as a separate thing. All 4 of those originals are absolutely masterpieces. They should be played by everyone. They should be loved by everyone. They're unbelievable games. But there were spin-offs back then. There were spin-offs, and Sonic Spinball was one a friend of mine had. I didn't have that. And the music and the sound design is absolutely excellent. It's got some of the best music in any Sonic game. Unfortunately, there's a pretty terrible pinball game attached to all that awesome music. Like, the graphics range between good and what the actual hell am I looking at? Because the screen is cut as is cluttered and the colours are absolutely garish. But that's not the big issue. The real problem is level design and, dear God, the physics. Probably the 2 most important aspects of pinball. Like, the game expects incredibly precise shots into small holes or targets, but utilising physics that can at best be described as a directional lottery. I mean, the physics of the momentum do function on a basic level. Velocity is quite standard, up, down, left, right function as you expect, but getting a specific angle by launching off a flipper and bouncing off an enemy is almost impossible. It is ridiculous. And then there's the level design. Like, this game is crazy short, so to pad it out, most of the levels after the first one have timed openings or barricades that need to be hit multiple times, followed by branching pathways. And when you finally reach the area you need, there'll be several easily hit pipes or whatever that will immediately drop you back to the start level, forcing you to go all the way back around. And quite often that is the fault of the unpredictable physics. This game was actually, like, quite famously built in a couple of months because Sega US realized Sonic 3 wasn't going to be ready for Christmas, despite cutting it in 2. Sonic Pinball is an experience, and the first level is really, really good, but I can't say that for the rest of it. But then there's Sonic Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which utilized the characters, or some of the characters, the animation style from the original Sonic cartoon, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Not the biggest fan of puzzle games, but I've played this many, many times. It's alright, but I wouldn't really choose it over Tetris. However, it quite possibly got the biggest, it probably got the biggest reaction out of me of everything that is in Sonic Mania. Like, when you get to the end of that level and you fall into the thing and it just kind of dawns on you that, oh my God, we're actually, like, there's the original music and there's Eggman over the other side. It's like, oh my fucking God, I actually paused it and laughed out loud. I was so just overjoyed with just what a ridiculous thing they put in the game, and it's so glorious. So for that reason alone, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Machine, is 10% better than I ever would have thought it was when I originally played it. But no, it's got nice characters. I really like the graphics for the character you're battling. Music is great. Yeah, it's just a fun puzzle game. They're not really my bag, but you know, it's a very cool game. So I guess at this point we'd probably better talk about Sonic Adventure. Now, is Sonic Adventure a terrible game? My knee-jerk reaction is to defend it to the death and want to fight you. But I do replay this every few years, well, probably every 5 years or so. And it is, I will admit, my nostalgia aside, I bought a Dreamcast, I had this game. God, that beginning cutscene blew my fucking mind as a kid. But, well, not as a kid, I was probably in my late teens, I guess. I was working, so I bought it. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, it's far more frustrating than it is fun. Even just the Sonic part. I think Sonic Adventure is what's the word I'm looking for? Sonic Adventure has all of the problems of every game that would follow, or every poorly rated game that would follow. And part of that is always going to be Sega. Sega have this real problem of rushing the development of their flagship character. The games that should be Sega's absolute flagship, more often than not, are reported to come out as feeling half finished, feeling half broken, having bits that don't work as intended, having 300 million ideas thrown at it, and only 50% are particularly fun. And instead of being laser focused on that, they throw in more and more and more. There is a reason in part that I enjoy the Sonic games a little more than the Mario games, and that comes down to right from game 2 in the West. I should say, in the West, Mario didn't do another gimmickless game. Like, in 2, there's the picking up items, there's keys in rooms, it's a very different feeling game to the first one. It's not just a platformer. And then with the second one, the third one, you've now got Karibo shoes, and you've got tails that make you fly, and you've got all this other stuff, and then you've got a dinosaur you ride on, you've got the cape to fly on. You're not just running left and right and jumping. It's adding gimmicks and gimmicks and gimmicks. And that's all well and good. I absolutely love them, and I would probably love them in Sonic, but Sonic Adventure is the start of Sega showing that they either don't understand or they don't have faith in the reasons Sonic worked. Because there are, like, you hear about Shadow the Hedgehog, just to digress for a second, and Gamma in this game. Fans kept telling Sega they wanted Sonic to have a gun, and instead of just saying, oh, you're a fucking idiot, why would Sonic have a gun? They tried to implement it, and it doesn't really feel in place with the universe. It doesn't really feel in place with the mythos. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. But I do think that everything I say as a criticism of this game, you can pretty much say for almost every game going forward. But I still really want to love this game. I still want to love Sonic Adventure. Like, in the back of my head, it's always going to be a game I love, even though I have to admit it's probably not actually a particularly good game. But, you know, you can like fun things that are crap. You can certainly enjoy the memory of something, perhaps more than actually watching it. It's all a part of growing up. It's all a part of getting better critical focus. And it's all, hindsight. It's all hindsight and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, so, like, there's so much in this game, and so much of it works. And so much of it works pretty well. You can see that Sonic Adventure should have been a game-changing, phenomenal game. But it's so unpolished that it feels unfinished. Sometimes you can almost forget, and you can be having a fantastic time, and then you'll just randomly get stuck by some of the game's jank, forcing you to swear and throw your controller. It's like, even in the first level, and it's the same fucking thing happens in Sonic 06 somehow. I've seen it, where you're going around a loop-the-loop, and you'll just kind of stop, because it doesn't make it scripted at the point where you take into that. So you then need to skirt across some water, and you either won't do it, or you'll just fall off it, or all this kind of stuff. If they're just taking a little longer, and this is the first level, but just taking a little bit longer, they could have fixed it all. But the further you play, the more you remember that it's always been like this, and it's just gonna get more frustrating before it gets better. And then you have to play as one of the other characters. Like, you can really feel what they're trying to achieve, but they've just not had the time to make it all out. The game is full of charm, and when it works, it is an absolute joy to play. But, you know, when thinking about it, my mind goes straight to Speed Highway and Wind Valley and Emerald Coast and running over the egg carrier and, like, the Mystic Ruins Jungle Maze and all this awesome stuff. The final battle with Perfect Chaos. It's all really fantastic stuff, but of course, when I think about this game, I think about playing as Sonic, and there are 5 other campaigns. They do offer some fun. They are shorter, so you kind of don't feel like they're gonna outstay their welcome, mostly. But, like, completely different playstyles like Omega or gameplays like Amy and Tails, which are somewhat similar, are memorable, but they don't feel like anything you've not really played before. They're this cool idea to have 6 different narratives that make up the game, and they all come together at the end. It's quite a cool idea, but there's so much repetition. You don't want... They got the idea right. Sonic wants to be the longest, but the other guys actually could have been done with being even shorter. It's so hard to say that trying to give you more for your money is a negative, but they didn't have time to give you more for your money that's actually good. But it's not a chore to play. It's, you know, in hindsight, even back then, I guess, but it's not like it's a chore to play, but you feel almost frustrated by it not being better. I think that's a good way of putting it. Like, there's so much good in there. There's so much good in there. But whenever you start relaxing into that good, something's gonna come and piss you off. Then there are the cutscenes, which I mentioned the opening cutscene at the time. The game is actually full of cutscenes, and they have aged like a fine pint of milk left in the sun. Like, at the time, you could certainly praise them if you'd not seen out like it before. But at this stage, they are just absolutely laughably bad, especially some of the voice acting. And by some of it, I mean pretty much all of the voice acting. Now, that's largely part of the charm. I enjoyed that more than some of the levels, sitting laughing at the cutscenes. But yeah, it's let's just put it this way. I recently played Mario 64 again on my Switch, and that game is an absolute pleasure to play. There are a few bits that are as frustrating as they always were. Some parts of TikTok clock, I guess, but you know what? I went through that and I got every single star before I got to the final Bowser. I remembered how to do it all, and that was an absolute blast. Sonic Adventure, certainly after completing Sonic's mission, comes to a very quickly to a, okay, how quickly can I just get to the end and not have to play this anymore? But yeah, I still love it. I still love it. It's still definitely always going to have a place in my heart. For its many, many flaws, I do think it's a fun and charming game. It just would have been nice if, like, for the GameCube or the Xbox Live releases and stuff, if Sega had just put a team going, okay, we're going to fix a load of things and make this, like, 20% better. But whatever. Maybe it's better that it remains a janky mess, and, like, the terrible cutscenes is part of the charm. But everything to do with Big the Cat is pure fucking garbage, though. But then we jump forward. I didn't get Sonic Adventure 2. I certainly didn't get Sonic 06. I didn't get Sonic Unleashed. I didn't get Shadow the fucking Hedgehog. Yeah, just on that, like, while we're skipping over this, like, there's a reason I like Tails and Knuckles. It's because I felt with two started a problem that the franchise kind of has, which is, why are hedgehogs? Why more hedgehogs? There are lots of animals. Shadow the Hedgehog is really dumb and would have been better if it were a clone of Sonic, right? But why then? What's the silver one? Oh, it's called Silver. It's called Silver the Hedgehog. I can't even remember. Why then another one? Actually, when I was talking about Sonic CD, I didn't even fucking talk about Metal Sonic. Metal Sonic is awesome. I was saving it for the Sonic 4 Part 2 kind of bit, but Metal Sonic is absolutely awesome. I'll give you that. But whatever. Sonic Generations, the game that brought me back to Sonic. I'd moved away from the Dreamcast and largely from the platforming genre. By the time Sonic Adventure 2 was released, over the years I'd hear that Sonic was crap, so I didn't particularly care. However, I am a fan of, like, I use YouTube videos as ASMR to help me get to sleep, and want to, you know, help relax the mind and all that kind of bollocks. And one of the guys I like is Clement J64. And he has played through pretty much all of the Sonic games, and that's how I found him. It's kind of like, oh, I know the music, you know, it's whatever, it's a nice kind of relaxing thing. And he was absolutely gushing about Sonic Generations and doing a playthrough, to the point that I stopped watching the Let's Play and I was like, you know what, this actually looks great, I want to play this. It looked super, super cool and really, really fun. So I gave it a go and I fucking loved it. Sonic Generations is absolutely phenomenal. So Sega decided to hedgehog their bets and appeal to both parts of their fan base, because of course they divided it themselves with their own stupid actions. So you've got the 3D Sonic fans and you got the 2D Sonic fans. They decided to do both for the game. So you've got classic Sonic, looks and plays somewhat like the original ones. The physics aren't quite right, but you know, it's still rock solid to play. It's super fun. And then there's the 3D Sonic, which is based in the like, got the boost mechanics and all shit like that. Really, really fun. And it was an absolutely ingenious move that paid off, because you can enjoy both versions. Like, the 3D sections in Sonic Generations are quite possibly the best in any Sonic game. It's incredibly fun, and the 2D stuff isn't pitch perfect to the originals, but it's still super fun. What's not to like? The game reimagines classic stages. This unfortunately went on to become a trope for Sega. They can't help themselves, it's what they keep doing, but you know, it's up to them, they do them. But having completely separate versions of these old stages tied to the unique gameplay really adds something. It's really, really cool. Aside from the main levels, there are also all these other challenges. Like, go through sections of the previous levels and you compete against like other characters, or you have a time limit, or this, that and the other. There's also like a little shop where you can kind of almost pick and choose your own upgrades and stuff, which is a super cool idea. Really likes that. And then there's like bosses from the previous games, and they all have like, unfortunately you don't get 2 versions of each of them. That would have been really cool. But yeah, you can go and you can get like another fight with Silver and another fight with Shadow and another fight with Metal Sonic, and they're all super fun. And the story is simple and great, because part of the problem Sonic kind of had was, I think 3 and Knuckles is the best story Sonic always had, and they were always trying to kind of recapture a bit of that glory without really knowing how to go about it, I've got to be honest. But the story in this is simple, because like Sonic and his friends are gathered together, and a big monster appears and destroys everything, leaving Sonic in a white void where he can access whited out versions of classic stages. One of his friends is next to each of them. On completing the stage, colour is restored and Sonic's friend is back. Eventually the 2 Sonics meet and join forces to restore the world. They come together with, you fight through most of the game, and then you fight this big monster called the Time Eater, only to learn that it's just another robot built by 2 Dr. Eggmans, the classic and the current one, who've come together to destroy everything, because of course it is, and it's absolutely glorious. The reveal just had me laughing my arse off. Sure, this is a kid's game, but that doesn't mean that ain't funny. It's so obvious but so stupid that I genuinely overlooked it. I thought, oh, okay, so they're doing this thing, and then Eggman will try and harness at the end. No, it's just all Eggman. And they have this really stupid, at the end of the credits, there's this really stupid bit where they, like, the 2 Eggmen are just trapped in a void bickering, and it's freaking glorious. Like, overall, Sonic Generations is probably my favourite Sonic game with 3D. Again, it's high on my list. I don't replay it every couple of years the way I do the older ones, because it's a much bigger game, but I've probably played it about 3 times since I first got it in the mid-2010s, something like that. It's really fun. But yeah, that brought me back to Sonic, so I thought, well, I'll give Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 a look, and probably a bit of an unpopular opinion, I really like it. I really like Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1. It's no more than the greatest hits. Like, it ain't gonna set anyone's world on fire, but I find it enjoyable. I laughed out loud the first time the pinch music pops up and a classic Eggman attack suddenly has a new version of it, making you kind of not quite understand what's going on. That was really cool. All of those are pretty well planned out. I think the levels are really fun to play. I think they're quite well constructed. There is I do think Sonic's physics are a bit janky, and I really don't like that the forward dash has too much power for the angle it arcs down at, making it quite lethal to use in certain situations. But overall, I was more than happy I played it. Should it have been called Sonic 4? No, it's nowhere near as good as the originals, but as like I guess like Generations to a degree, as something of a greatest hits, I really liked it. I really liked it. Did not feel quite the same for Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2, unfortunately. I felt the Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Part 1 got criticism for its reuse of stuff, so they tried to change that with the second one, and that is really noticeable in the Eggman boss fights, which are all really long and boring and mostly about waiting. However, this is the game that brought back Metal Sonic, and Jesus Christ, all of the battles where Metal Sonic is not riding a vehicle are absolutely fantastic, really fun, really exciting, and they've given Metal Sonic a new theme, which is fantastic. It's one of the best boss themes in the entire franchise. It's absolutely awesome. But yeah, unfortunately the Eggman boss is my least favourite of anyone I've ever played. It's the one where he's in the giant heart. There's all these rings going around it, and kind of they get electrified over time, so you need to kind of jump up a couple of times to get in the ring in the middle and then spin into him. It's really not fun, but you know, it is what it is. Unfortunately, it did quite poorly, and that led to there being no episode 3, which was going to bring in Knuckles, because that's got episode 2 brought in Tails. So Tails does as you Tails things. He flies, he can fly Sonic up and around. You can roll into a ball with him in a, I don't know what the point of that was. I don't know why that was some great innovation, but you know, it is what it is. It's in there, it's fine, it's alright, but I don't think, I would say that's probably the worst Sonic game I've ever played, and I don't think it's a bad game. I just don't think it's a great game. I think it's a game. And then we get to Sonic Mania, the latest 2D, the latest and greatest recent Sonic game. Christ, it's good. It's so good, right? Like, there's not an awful lot to say about it other than it's just absolutely fantastic. It again, like 3, it's got a great story told almost entirely through context of playing the game, which is fantastic. It looks incredible. It plays incredible. I am used to Sonic 2's little quirks with the gameplay that Sonic Mania almost plays too good. Like, it has absolutely in every conceivable way perfected what the original 4 games did. It is in every way a masterpiece. The only reason it's not my all-time favourite is purely because it reuses so much. Like, well, actually, there was something else. It reuses so much that you've got to mark it down a little bit, because although the second acts are always awesome new twists on them, the first acts are expanded versions of the original stages and stuff, and it's just so much we've seen before. I don't know what the hell Sega's problem is that we're not already on Sonic Mania 2, if not 3 by now. Like, why on earth would they not just, like, talk about leaving money on the goddamn table? Everyone wanted this game. It sold an absolute butt ton. They've reissued various versions of it. Like, how was a sequel not greenlit given a couple of years? Come on, Sega, you need to give people time to make something good. Given a couple of years, and then give us some more, because I would eat that shit with a spoon. I would inject that shit directly into my veins. Sonic Mania is freaking incredible, with the exceptions of, again, I have a bit of an issue of reuse. Apparently, it's like across a lot of Sonic games this generation as well. They reuse so much shit. But also, I really dislike Final Boss, both versions. I think the final Eggman boss is really uninspired and easy. And the Eggman versus Phantom King thing when you're Super Sonic is a really cool, fun idea. But again, as weird as this sounds, it feels too passive. Like, both of them feel too passive. They don't feel like you're fighting this giant final ultimate threat. They feel like Sonic is there waiting for the guy to let his guard down. I don't know, there's just something about those fights that don't really grip me. And most of the rest of the boss fights are all fantastic. Including the really weird one where you're Sonic in the Eggmobile and you have to suck up Robotnik and drop him on bombs. That's really odd. Or you suck up bombs and drop them on Robot. One way or the other. Really, really, really weird idea. But it's fun because it's something unique. It's something really cool and unique. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I put Sonic Mania up there with the original 4 games. It's a frigging masterpiece. Again, that only came out a few years ago. I must have played through that like 3 times already. It's absolutely stellar. Please give us more. Please, 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 please give us more. And over Christmas, I picked myself up the Ultimate Remaster version of Sonic Colors, which was pretty fun. I can certainly see why Sonic fans back at the time thought, oh my god, this is the thing, this is the good stuff, this is what's going to bring Sonic back. And it's a pretty fun game. I like the gimmick wisps, but again, the wisps gimmicks are getting in the way of the Sonicking. Not necessarily a bad thing if that's what you like. I quite enjoyed it, but I really like the story. I really, really like the it's kind of unfolding through Eggman's Tannoy announcements to the amusement park, which were pretty funny. But yeah, I like some of the whips. I think they could have done with half the amount of them, to be honest. I do think the game did drag a little by the end. The underwater level was fucking monotonous. I really didn't like that. I didn't find that fun at all. But mostly I did like Sonic Colors quite a lot. Again, it's down at the lower end of the scale, but as I've only played 10, 11, 12 Sonic games, it's not like it's not like I'm banking that against everything else in the series. I'm just balancing it against the other Sonic games I've played, and of course the other 3D platformers I've played. But it's definitely not in any way what I'd call a bad game. It's definitely still really fun. I forgot about it. I've actually also played the 3 Sonic Advance games on emulation. Really nothing to write home about. I like the first one more than the second and the third. I felt they got worse as they went on. They're by Dimps, who made Sonic Episode 4, I believe. So, yeah, so there's an awful lot to like about them, but nothing remotely revolutionary. I've never been a big fan of the Dimps style of Sonic physics and momentum, but yeah, they're still absolutely worth a play. If you've got some time and you want to play a bit more Sonic, they're worth doing. Certainly the first one is worth doing. But that's not all I've enjoyed from Sonic, because, you know, there's also the cartoons. Back in the early 90s, I really liked what is known as, I guess, the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Crazy zany humour, like probably very cheap animation, but a very kind of over-the-top, what you call classic cartoony vibe. You know, it's the stuff that Ren and Stimpy Animaniacs a bit later were doing. Obviously they did it much better. I mean, this is no masterclass, but it's that kind of vibe, like the really crazy, wacky, over the top kind of crap. I mean, it's probably unwatchable now because it was, I remember it being very cheap and very rushed, but I remember it being very fun, and that's what I like in things. I like things to be fun, because that was out at the same time as was what people now call Sonic the Saturday AM cartoon, or Sat AM whatever, which was released around the same time but was a darker, edgy, more dramatic thing. And like, when I was young, I didn't understand what the hell that was about. Not conceptually, like, I was just sitting there watching going, who the fuck wants this for a Sonic cartoon? Like, are people taking the fast blue hedgehog seriously? Because, like, no, what? But you know, I'm not going to go back and watch it. Maybe I'd get more out of it now, but like, I don't know that I would, because yeah, it just doesn't seem like the place for Sonic. Didn't feel like the place for Sonic to me, and it's not the place I have Sonic in my head. The place I have for Sonic in my head was the Sonic Boom cartoon. I love that thing. It's legitimately quite funny. The first episode has, what's his name? Eggman ranting about evil ham. It's fantastic. I've watched most of this on Netflix, like where I've got an odd 5-10 minutes here, I'll just be like, okay, fine, whatever. If I'm like sitting doing some writing or something, it's like, oh, it's something to have on there. It's bright and colourful. Occasionally I'll shoot my eyes up, it'll make me laugh. Yeah, it's got the problem of, they dropped like 60 odd episodes in the first batch, so it's got the problem of some of the episodes are really thin, but you know, there's something on in the background. I liked it more than I disliked it. I thought it was super fun. And speaking of super fun, a large part of the reason we are here today, Sonic the Hedgehog the movie 2019, a movie that had no right to be as entertaining as it is. Like, I've got over here in the UK, we have a cinema franchise called Cineworld, and they have an unlimited card where you pay them, I think it's now about 18 quid a month, go see as many movies as you want, free of charge. So you watch 2 movies, you've already saved yourself about 6 quid, and this happened to be on. I don't know if I'd have ever paid to go watch it, but you know, it was on a week where nothing else was on. I have 90s nostalgia for Sonic the Hedgehog, and a little bit Jim Carrey, my mate the same, so we went to see it, and like, it's a really good family kids movie. Like, it's not some kind of masterpiece, but it's really fun. Jim Carrey is incredibly funny in it. I liked the way it's blended. Hollywood has this thing, this weird thing of, oh hey, these games have been popular for 30 years. We need to set them on Earth and ground them. Oh, why? But I think they did a good job of putting, without dragging Sonic down to being completely grounded and not a ridiculous fast-talking super fast hedgehog, putting him in a setting that sadly was always going to happen because they always fucking do this. But yeah, it's a really fun family-friendly mush that made me laugh a bunch of times and is banking on 90s nostalgia, which I have, so it did a good job. We got full-on 90s Jim Carrey slowly evolving into the Eggman that we all want, with the giant moustache and talking to a rock and all that. It's all super fun, and yeah, and that's what we're here for. We're here because Sonic 2 is released, if I get this out on time, today. It's got Knuckles in it, it's got Tails in it, Eggman is back. It looks crazy fun. It's got at least one Chaos Emerald. Hopefully they just use the one, leaving it open for the sequel, because then 2 can have Supersonic. But maybe it'll be in this one. The last minute I saw another trailer with something else from the games that I didn't know was in it that I now know. And I'm a bit annoyed by the spoiler, but dear God, I'm excited to see this thing in the movie. So yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which I believe is called Sonic vs. Knuckles in Japan, which is quite a cool title. But yeah, Sonic 2 is out today. Sonic 2, the movie, not the game. Sonic 2, the game, is out now. You can get it on pretty much any platform. I beseech you to go play it. It is, in my opinion, the greatest 2D platform of all time. And yeah, thanks for listening to all of this ramble and enjoying Sonic. And if you don't like Sonic, why have you sit and listened to an hour of me talking about how much I love Sonic? That seems like a weird thing to do, but yeah, Sonic rules.